But why I called it backpacker scientist? Probably everybody knows what backpacker means. Yeah? It's simply quite a poor tourist, yeah, who is traveling with his own or her own backpack, yeah, generally on public transport, on low costs, on budget accommodation, and so on. Why should it be stressed on? Because generally, if you compare any remote studies, yeah, in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia, whatsoever, in Australia, of what you can actually do, and if you and your foreign colleagues can do, you will find a very important difference. If you will simply ask your United States or British or French colleague how to perform research in Africa or in Asia, they will tell that it's rather simple. You just arrive to the airport, you rent a car, you buy petrol, you bring your microscope with you, you bring lots of ethanol and chemicals which you can buy or you can order from United States, so they wait for you in Nairobi, you just pick them up to your car and you travel whatsoever. And when you hear it, you understand it. You will likely never get that financial support for doing it. Another point, you can ask travelers, tourists, how to travel. And you will receive absolutely different answers, because people who are simply traveling but without research purposes, they have absolutely different schedule. For example, there are many hitchhiking travelers. Yeah, probably many of you or somebody has written a book of Anton Krotov. Yeah, how to hitchhiking around the world. It's good if you have just a small backpack. You can wait for a whole day hitchhiking for anybody taking you, and you don't have lots of samples. You don't have a particular target when there is no rain to study something, because next day nothing will happen, yeah, because your insects or animals or plants will disappear. You can simply wait for the car, or if you arrive in the wrong city, you don't lose anything, you simply starting around. What hitchhiking travelers can perform, but you cannot, because you have your particular targets. And in this situation, actually, this backpacker scientist is just in between. He cannot ask anybody for advice, because any other advice is not suitable for his or her purposes. So this was just a reason of the presentation, to explain how you can actually do research on low costs, but keeping in mind that your agenda and your tasks are quite different from probably all other people around, including locals, tourists, missionaries, everybody. You are just different because you combine many features. So, this presentation is generally based on my three main travels into Africa. First one, it was in West Africa, in Senegal, is a French-speaking country. It used to be a French colony. It's a former French colony, Senegal. Then it was East Africa. It combined three countries of East Africa: Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the most recent, just in November and December of last year, it was something what called either north of South Africa or south of Central Africa, Zambia and Namibia. They were supported, two first trips were supported in part by Humboldt Foundation when I had my fellowship in Germany, and the last travel was totally supported by the Ukrainian Fund of Fundamental Research. Actually, it was the most backpacker and the most budget trip indeed, because of these reasons. But probably this experience is most useful for people. Actually, there was also a difference in these trips, because actually the more you know, the more you can. So the first trip was absolutely unprepared, and it was based on a contact with colleagues. Generally, it's one of the main ideas. So if you travel somewhere, you have to contact with a person there, with your colleague, and your colleague will provide you with research facilities, with travel facilities, with map, with everything. Yeah, and it was French-speaking country, so I couldn't actually do much myself. And it was the most expensive trip because of this. Next one, it was in English-speaking area, and it was cheaper, and it also combined some contacts with locals, which I will speak about later. With local contact with the colleagues who were working in that area, but also some backpacking activities. And the last trip, it was totally backpacking activity. I had no professional contacts in this country, because there is nobody to contact in this. But I contacted with people who were working there, so what made us more people. Yes, so they were not residents, they were also occasional travelers, but scientists. So I consulted them. I used their advice using internet and email exchange, but there was nobody whom I could rely on in that country. So this is a grade, the financial grade and the grade of self-sufficient travel. Yeah, so first is nearly totally dependent traveling, and the last one is totally self-sufficient, and another one is in between. So some hints what you have to do before your trip. We will return back in the end of presentation to the same items, but it will be supported already by the pictures. First, vaccination and malaria treatment. It's not that simple to answer this question. For many people, it's very understandable that you have to have lots of vaccination against all the infections in the region and also of malaria treatment. But if you speak with people who are traveling there regularly, they don't do anything. Indeed. And they don't pay that much for any vaccination. When the first time, sure, I also had this assumption that I have to have vaccination, and actually all the vaccination I made in Tropical Research Institute in Munich, Germany, it was the same price as I paid for the flight. It was about 400 euros. But it was something like 4 vaccinations against yellow fever, and the pillow against typhus, and 3 vaccinations against all hepatitis, and something else, and diphtheria, and many of them. But when you go there and speak with people, nobody does anything about it. Except for yellow fever, because occasionally you have to have the stamp about yellow fever in your something like vaccination passport. You have to have such yellow book, and you have to show it on the border. But it's written in many books, but actually nobody asks it. But for sure you have to have it. As to malaria treatment, it's also not that much easy. Most locals don't do anything, and they do not use any pills. And if you ask doctors working in the region, they generally congruent in the idea that you better wait for malaria symptoms and then use extra pillows, something like 10 pillows simultaneously to kill the parasites, instead of using 1 pillow per week, as I used, to have influence to your liver and to the health as a whole. And also, there are some pills against malaria, like Malaron and Lariam. Malaron is absent on the former USSR area, so Malaron you generally can buy just only abroad, and Lariam is present. So I used Lariam, but it's not the only way how to prevent malaria, because, as I said, people generally prefer to wait for malaria and then to use medicals. And also there are some, people say that there are some psycho-influence of malaria. So they have hallucinations and bad feelings and something like nightmares after after malaria. I haven't felt anything like it, but people say. Then you have to have an idea what about area where you're traveling. You have to have a plan, you have to have a map, and you have to have a schedule. The best source of information, this is actually a Lonely Planet book. I have taken one of them, and you can see this is a logo, yeah, of Lonely Planet. Why these books are absolutely different from any travel or tourist guide which you can buy. Actually, you cannot buy it in Kiev so far. I was searching last autumn, and nothing was actually found. But you can see that in these books, unlike tourist guides, you can see really helpful information about each area, and even very small villages. You can see, like here, sleeping and eating and getting there in the way. And you have precise instructions, like follow this road, then turn back. They are updated about a couple of years, and you can also get in this place, generally when sleeping and eating, they are also ranged by budget sleeping, mid-range sleeping, so with prices and with names and with emails and phone numbers. So following these books, you can in advance actually make booking of accommodation. You can read how you can get to some kind of local villages by public transport, or how much the private car costs indeed, because if you are like locals, the prices could be rather high because you are white, and white means rich. And so on. So this is really helpful. You can have a precise idea about costs and about plans. And if you take normal travel guide, which you can buy in tourist shops, you will have pictures like this, but not on the cover, but inside too. So when you want to know how much it costs to live somewhere in Dar es Salaam, instead you can find a picture of Rhino, of Maasai, or whatsoever, or of souvenirs, of lions, but nothing about prices, nothing about roads, nothing about what you really need. So Lonely Planet is actually a rather good idea to use and to plan your trip. Actually, you cannot free download the PDFs of Lonely Planet, you have to buy it, but if you make a search in internet, a couple of days from one web page to another web page, you can actually find some sites where the PDFs are for free. But it takes time, and it's not always successful, but it's possible. And then what is also important to think what to bring and what to buy there. Generally, travelers think that they travel in some remote area and they have to have everything what they need with them. But keep in mind that you should pay for overload, and overload in the plane may be charged for $100 per kilo, and what it's changeable, and they like charging for extra kilos. So many things which you will need there, you can actually buy there, like clothes, for example. You don't need to take simple clothes like t-shirts. There are, the humanitarian aid which is sent to Africa is actually sold in Africa. So in every village you can find these t-shirts or pants which is sent for poor people, but actually it's sold by these people and other people. So you can buy for $1 something like 4 or 5 t-shirts, and then you can throw them away. And you will not have to pay for taking this stuff there and back. The same for shoes. Many things like this, and food is sure. So if you travel in there, you don't have to take something like rice and whatsoever. But you also have to think what you might need there, and you will not be able to buy in a small village. So you will be able to buy basic clothes and food, but you won't be able to buy some, for example, tools which you will need to construct or to repair your tent or whatsoever. So it's better to take with you something what you will really need and won't be able to buy, and not to take something what you can buy there and leave there. And to think about